Why should we empty our mind? Come, sit with me for a moment. I want to talk with you about something I've been thinking about lately, something that took me so many years to understand. If you're watching this tonight, perhaps you're feeling a bit overwhelmed. Perhaps your mind is spinning with thoughts, worries, all the things you need to figure out. Or maybe you have this sense that life is trying to show you something, teach you something, but somehow you keep missing it. You reach for it, and it slips away. Does that sound familiar? I know this feeling well, dear one. I carried it for most of my life, if I'm honest with you. You see, for many, many years, I was so full of opinions, full of certainties, full of clever ideas about how things were and how they should be. I had an answer for everything. I knew what was right. I knew what was wrong. And whenever someone tried to share something with me, well, I already had my response prepared before they'd even finished speaking. I was that person, the one who couldn't really listen because I was too busy planning what I would say next. I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad if you recognize yourself in what I'm saying. I'm telling you because I want you to know that I understand. I've been exactly where you might be right now, and I want to share something with you tonight that changed everything for me. There's an old Zen story, a very simple one, and when I first heard it, it went straight to my heart, not because it was complicated or profound in some intellectual way, but because it showed me so clearly what I'd been doing to myself all those years. Would you like to hear it? I think you're ready. I think perhaps that's why you found your way here tonight. Let me tell you about a professor and a Zen master and a cup of tea that wouldn't stop overflowing. So here's the story. It's very simple, but it stayed with me all these years. A university professor once traveled a long way to meet a famous Zen master. This professor was a learned man, you understand. He had many degrees, had read countless books, had spent his whole life studying philosophy and religion. And he came to this master because he wanted to understand Zen. The master welcomed him kindly. He invited the professor to sit, and he began to prepare tea, just ordinary tea, nothing fancy. And as they sat together, the professor started talking. He talked about all the things he'd read about Zen. He talked about his theories, his interpretations, his ideas about what enlightenment might be. The words just poured out of him, one after another, and the master listened. He didn't interrupt. He just kept preparing the tea very slowly, very carefully. Then he began to pour the tea into the professor's cup. He poured, and he kept pouring. The cup filled up, and still the master kept pouring. The tea reached the brim, and then it began to spill over the sides. It ran down onto the saucer, then onto the table, then onto the floor. And the professor, he watched this happening, and finally he couldn't help himself. He cried out, "Stop, stop, the cup is full, no more will go in." And the master very gently set down the teapot. He looked at the professor with such kindness, and he said, "Like this cup, you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" Let that settle for a moment. You see, the master wasn't being cruel. He wasn't scolding the professor or making him feel foolish. He was simply showing him something the professor couldn't see for himself because, well, he was too full to see it. When I first heard this story, it pierced right through me, because I recognized myself in that professor so completely. I was that cup, overflowing with everything I thought I knew, every opinion, every judgment, every certainty I'd collected over the years. I carried them all with me everywhere I went, and there was simply no room for anything new. This is what happens to us, you and I. We fill ourselves up with so many things. Our beliefs about how the world works, our stories about who we are and who we're supposed to be, our ideas about what's right and what's wrong, our assumptions about other people, our plans, our worries, our endless commentary about everything. And then life tries to teach us something Someone tries to share their truth with us. A moment of beauty appears right in front of us, and we miss it. We miss it because there's no space to receive it. The cup is already full. The master wasn't asking the professor to become empty-headed or stupid. He wasn't asking him to forget everything he'd learned. He was inviting him to create space, to put down, just for a little while, all that heaviness, to meet this moment, this teaching, this person in front of him with fresh eyes, with openness, with room to actually receive something new. That's what emptying the cup really means, dear one. It's not about losing yourself, it's about making space for life to reach you. I want to tell you about a moment that still stays with me, even now, all these years later. I was in my 40s. I'd been practicing Buddhism for maybe 15 years by then, and I thought I understood quite a bit. I was teaching, you see. People would come to me with their questions, and I'd have answers ready. Good answers, I thought. Wise answers. One afternoon, a young student came to speak with me. He was maybe 20 years old, very earnest, very sincere, and he started to share something he'd discovered in his practice. Something simple, really, a small insight about suffering and how he'd been holding on to it. And I remember this so clearly. He was only halfway through his first sentence when I interrupted him. I didn't even let him finish. I started explaining to him why his understanding was incomplete, why he needed to see it differently, why my way of looking at it was more accurate. I watched his face as I spoke. I watched it close, like a flower closing up for the night. The light went out of his eyes. He nodded politely, said thank you, and left. And I sat there feeling quite pleased with myself, thinking I'd taught him something valuable. But I hadn't taught him anything, had I? I'd simply poured my fullness all over his small, tender offering. I'd been so full of my own understanding, my own need to be right, my own importance as the teacher, that I couldn't make space for what he was trying to share with me. And the truth is, what he was saying might have taught me something if I'd had the grace to listen. I missed him entirely that day. I missed the chance to really see him, to really hear him, to let him know that his insight mattered. And he never came back to study with me. I don't blame him. This is what it costs us, dear one, when we're too full. It costs us moments, real moments with real people. It costs us the chance to truly connect, to truly listen, to truly be present for another human being. When we're so full of ourselves, there's no room for anyone else. And it's not just with other people. When we're full, we miss the teachings that life is constantly offering us. The small ones, the quiet ones. The birds singing outside the window while we're lost in worry. The kindness of a stranger while we're rehearsing our grievances. The moment of peace that's right here, right now, while we're busy planning how to find peace somewhere else, sometime later. We walk through this beautiful, heartbreaking, precious life, and we miss so much of it, because we're too full of our thoughts about life to actually experience life itself. Now, I want to say something tender here, especially if you're going through something difficult right now. Sometimes we're not full of opinions or certainties. Sometimes we're full of pain, full of grief or fear or anger or loneliness. And that's different, isn't it? That kind of fullness makes perfect sense. Of course you're full of it. How could you not be? But even here, my friend, even with our pain, there's something to notice. When we're so full of our story about our suffering, when we're so full of our fear about what might happen or our anger about what did happen, sometimes we can't see the small openings, the little gaps where a bit of light might come through. The moment when someone reaches out with kindness, but we're too full of our loneliness to feel it. The brief instant of okayness, but we're too full of our worry to notice it. I'm not saying you should push your pain away. Please don't hear that. I'm just saying that sometimes, just sometimes, if we can make even the smallest space, even the tiniest bit of room, well, we might be surprised by what can reach us. This is what the overflowing cup teaches us, not to empty ourselves of everything, but to notice what it costs us to be so full that nothing new can enter. So you might be wondering, well, what do I do with this? How do I actually empty my cup? It sounds lovely in a story, but how does it work in real life? Let me share with you what I do. It's very simple, almost embarrassingly simple, really. I notice. That's it. I just notice when my cup is getting full. When I'm in a conversation and I realize I'm not really listening because I'm too busy preparing what I'm going to say next. When someone is talking and I'm already full of my response, my correction, my better idea, I just notice that. Oh, look at that. My cup is full again. And sometimes, just the noticing is enough. Just seeing it clearly. Because once you see it, once you really see how full you are, there's often this natural little release like, oh, I'm doing it again. And maybe, just maybe, you can put down whatever you're holding for a moment and actually listen to what's being said. It's not about never having thoughts or opinions. We're human beings. Of course we have thoughts. Of course we have opinions. The mind keeps making them like a factory makes widgets. That's just what minds do. But we don't have to hold on to every single one quite so tightly. We don't have to defend every position. We don't have to be right about everything. We can create a little space, just a little, just enough to let something new enter. Here's what I practice. When I'm talking with someone, I try to notice that moment when I stop listening because I'm formulating my response. That exact moment. And when I catch it, I just gently put my response down for a second. Just set it aside. And I come back to listening, really listening, to this person right here, right now, who is trying to tell me something. And you know what's funny? I still mess this up all the time. Just yesterday, I was talking with one of my younger colleagues, and halfway through his sentence, I started thinking about what I wanted to say, and I completely lost track of what he was saying. I had to stop and say, "I'm sorry, my friend. Could you say that again?" I got lost in my own thoughts. We laughed about it, because it's so human, isn't it? We're like cups that keep filling themselves up the moment we empty them. Fill, empty, fill, empty. It's quite comical, really, if you can look at it with a bit of lightness. But here's the beautiful thing. Each time you notice, each time you catch yourself being too full, each time you create even the smallest space, you're practicing, you're learning, you're becoming a little more spacious, a little more open, a little more able to meet life as it actually is, rather than as you think it should be. You don't have to empty your cup completely. You don't have to become some perfectly empty vessel floating around with no thoughts or feelings. That's not what this is about. It's just about making room, a little room, room for this moment, room for this person, room for life to surprise you, to teach you, to reach you. Start small, dear one. Tomorrow, maybe, when someone is talking to you, see if you can catch that moment when you stop listening because you're planning your response. Just notice it. You don't even have to change anything. Just see it clearly. And maybe, if it feels natural, set your response aside for just a breath or two and come back to listening. That's all. That's the whole practice, really. Emptying, filling, emptying again. Noticing when you're too full. Making space when you can, being gentle with yourself when you forget, which you will, we all do. It's the work of a lifetime, this practice, and that's okay. We have time. So here we are, you and I, coming to the end of our time together tonight, and I want to leave you with something gentle to carry with you. We've talked about this teaching of the empty cup, about how we walk through life so full of our thoughts, our opinions, our certainties, our pain, that we miss what's actually here. We miss the moments, the people, the small teachings that life keeps offering us. And maybe, if you're like me, you're sitting there thinking, yes, I do this. I recognize myself in this. I've been that overflowing cup. If so, dear one, I want you to know something. You're not broken. You never were. This fullness, this human tendency to fill ourselves up with thoughts and stories and defenses, it's just what we do. All of us. It's not a flaw in you. It's just being human. But now you've seen it, and that seeing, that awareness, that's the beginning of everything. That's where the space starts to open. I'm not asking you to transform yourself overnight. I'm not asking you to become perfectly empty or perfectly present or perfectly anything. That's not how this works. That's not how life works. I'm just inviting you to try something very small. Tomorrow maybe, or the next day, when someone is speaking to you, see if you can notice that moment when your cup starts to fill up, when you stop listening because you're preparing your response. Just notice it. That's all. And maybe, if it feels natural, put down what you're holding for just a breath or two and really listen to what's being said. That would be enough, my friend. That would be everything. Because here's what I've learned in all these years. When we create even the smallest space, even the tiniest opening in all that fullness, something beautiful can happen. Life can reach us. Another person can reach us. A moment of peace can reach us. Truth can reach us, not because we've become perfect or enlightened or special, but simply because we've made a little room. And yes, you'll fill up again. Of course you will. I do it all the time. We all do. That's not failure. That's just the practice. Emptying, filling, emptying again. Noticing when we're too full. Creating space when we can. Being gentle with ourselves when we forget. This is the work of a lifetime. This practice of the empty cup. And I'm still learning. After all these years, I'm still catching myself mid-sentence, still noticing my cup overflowing, still having to pause and make space again. And that's okay. That's more than okay. That's the beautiful, humble, funny human practice of waking up. So be gentle with yourself tonight and tomorrow and all the days after. You deserve that gentleness. You always have. I hope what I've shared has helped, even a little. I hope you feel a bit lighter than when we started, and I hope you'll remember that you're not alone in this. All of us are learning together. All of us are finding our way, and that's enough. May you find the space to hear what life is trying to teach you. May you meet each moment with a little more openness, a little more room, and may you always, always know how deeply you're loved, exactly as you are, full cup and all. Until next time, dear one, thank you for sitting with me tonight.